Hey, how you doing?
Okay, as we're getting started, I'll turn off my sound for one. Just a couple notes as we get started. With tonight's draw, the USMNT snaps a team record 11-match losing streak against Brazil. That was the longest losing streak against any team. Matt Turner's 11 saves are a career high, besting his 8 saves June 1st, 2022 against Morocco. Also the first double-digit save performance by a U.S. keeper since Tim Howard against Belgium in the 2014 World Cup. One last note, tonight's attendance of 60,016 is the highest attendance for a senior team match in the state of Florida, and also the highest for a U.S. match overall since April 15th, 2015 against Mexico in San Antonio, which was 64,369. We'll begin with opening comments from Gregg, and then we'll take your questions.
That's door. We gotta get some oil on that door. WD-40. We talked to the guys before the game, and we just asked two things of them. We asked for teamwork and intensity. And the way we framed it is two things that are totally in their control, right? It doesn't matter about the opponent, doesn't matter about the field or the fans or anything. Those are two things that they can control. And that's the type of effort that we saw today. The boys certainly delivered on that, and that was good. We feel like we made a little step. It's not a huge step, but it's a little step. To be able to play against a amazingly talented Brazil team and bend but not break, and I think give them problems as well, push them as well. So for us, looking at it, we think it's a good end to our preparation camp, and we're ready for Copa America.
Thanks, Gregg. We'll start with Stephen Goff from Washington Post. To your right.
Greg, these were friendlies. Obviously, they were preparing for Copa America, but emotionally, to get a result out of this, how does this, you think, impact the team psychologically now going into Copa in less than 2 weeks?
Yeah, it's a step. When you hear stats like we have an 11-game losing streak against Brazil, right? The odds aren't in your favor. So you want to go out and just put a good performance in. And again, focusing on teamwork, intensity. We knew we'd have to be compact. We knew we'd have to limit the space between the lines. And we did that really well. When I saw the guys in the locker room after the game, they're exhausted. They gave everything. And, that's all you can ask for. So we'll use that little bit of momentum to head into Copa America.
Michele, front row.
Thank you, Michael. Hi, Greg. Just the decision behind starting Yunus as number 6 and Ricardo up top.
We purposely wanted to get minutes for some guys. Yunus was one of the guys we wanted to let him put in a shift because we're going to need him in Copa America. So it was designed for that. And with Rico, Rico's had a tough year. He hasn't gotten the nod too often. And again, another important player for us in Copa America. We wanted to give him a run out, see what he can do to prepare him for Copa America.
Doug, second row.
Greg, you got off to a good start. Yunus nearly scores on that drive, and then you give up the goal in the other way. What did you think of the response from your team?
It was a great response. I think, when I say little step, because there's still really small things that we need to fix. And that goal is a perfect example. We targeted the wrong spot. We're way too open. If you don't kick balls into those areas, you leave yourself too exposed. I think we lost the ball too easily at times when we can keep it. So with that stuff, we got to get better and we got to keep moving and fixing. But it was disappointing, obviously, when the goal went in, because you started thinking, oh, here we go again. First 20 minutes of the game, we give up a goal. But it was a great response from the guys. And, those are the things that really build the team and get this team with a great mindset, knowing they can come back.
Paul?
Hey, Greg, I know you talked about, obviously, the team needing a response and giving a response, but there were some individuals that I thought probably were thinking they needed bounce back performances. Did you talk to any of the guys individually? And how'd you feel about kind of some of the individual performances, being able to mentally rebound against an opponent like Brazil and put in a better shift after what I'm sure for some of those guys were, what they felt were lows for them against Colombia?
Yeah, we challenged the group. We spoke to them both collectively and individually and challenged them for better performances. we never want to make excuses for a performance. So when you have conversations with the players, you don't want to give them an out. When you represent the national team, you know the pressure and you know what the standard. And against Colombia, we didn't reach that standard. And so we did have a challenge to the group. We wanted to focus on those two things and let everything else take care of itself.
Front row to your left.
Gregg, you've praised Orlando, Central Florida for their thirst for soccer and their passion for the sport. The show they just put on tonight in terms of the energy, how impressive was that for you?
It was great. I mean, we're still undefeated in Orlando, right? Is that true? Have we lost in Orlando? We have. Okay. So we have a great record in Orlando. and the fans were amazing. Orlando has a large Brazilian contingent, and you can see them come out and support their team. And we talked last week after the Colombia game is that's the beauty of the United States. You get to these communities showing up and coming out, and it's all friendly and it's all a celebration of soccer. And they got to see an exciting match tonight.
Jeff Carlisle to your right, Gregg.
Yep.
Gregg, what did you make of Matt Turner's performance, especially in light of the way the goal happened, where it started from his goal kick?
Right.
Just kind of the way that he was able to regroup and all.
He stayed calm, and that's the most important thing. He stayed calm. I thought he managed the game well. That was an incident that could have set him back a little bit, his confidence, but he responded really well to that. Matt was the guy that wasn't so happy with his performance last game, and you can see he came out and had a much better game.
Front row to your left, Gregg.
Yep.
Earlier, you were saying that you're chasing performances rather than results, but you can get both of those things to go. What does that say about the mental state of your team right now as you're heading into Copa?
Well, we didn't get the win, right? So that's, we want to be able to beat teams like this, but we do think it's a positive step. Our record against Brazil hasn't been great. And, to have the guys put all the results away and just focus on working together, playing hard, and doing their role was refreshing, because that's what we're going to need to be successful moving forward.
Third row, straight ahead.
Gregg, there wasn't a great volume of chances for your team, but what chances they had, they really tested Allison. What are your thoughts on the attack and how it performed tonight?
Yeah, I mean, well, it's funny you mention that, because I was looking at the stats when Brazil played England in England, and England had 15 shots, 6 of them on goal, and we had very similar stats. And it's not going to be easy to create a lot against teams like this. I want to create more chances, but it's very difficult. But at the end of the day, I think they had a 1.7 expected goals, and we had basically a 1.98. So it's not that far off. And the guys did a good job creating enough high quality chances to get a goal.
We'll take a few questions from our Zoom audience and begin with Henry Bushnell from Yahoo.
Thanks, Michael, and thanks, Gregg, for your time. Two-part question on Christian. First of all, just what did you think about the way he set the tone tonight? Not only with his goal, but looked like he was getting stuck into some duels and things like that. And also, what did you see from him as the captain of this team? I know he's not the only leader, but in the past few days, just how he handled the group off the field.
Christian's been a leader of this team since day one. And I think he relishes that role. Guys look up to him. Guys look to him for inspiration. And I think the most important thing about Christian is guys know in moments like this, he's going to step up, because that's what he does. He's always focused on the team. He's always focused on helping out. And I think he had a great game overall, both offensively and defensively.
Next will be Charlie Bone from MLSsoccer.com.
Hey, Gregg, congrats on the results. Could you give just a little insight into how you set the team up in terms of where the block was, the shape, getting that right balance between, defending well without getting stuck in a shell?
Yeah, we wanted to pick and choose moments, and a lot of it has to do with the fitness, and a lot of it has to do with, the energy that the guys have. But we wanted to get in a higher block at times. We wanted to move up the field. It's not always possible due to their buildup, really complicated with the 4-2-2-2 basically. And you have to protect the pockets. So, we had a shape that we thought was going to eliminate some of the spaces centrally, make them play the ball wide. And, fortunately, it had a good effect on them. And overall, I think the guys executed really well.
Next will be Kyle Bond from the Sporting News.
Thanks, Michael. Greg, congrats on the result. Wanted to ask you about two players. What can you say about Joe Scally the last few games? In for Serginho, going against Luis Diaz and Vinicius, two of the world's top attackers. And then you touched a bit on Matt Turner, but you talked a bit about how that early goal, he got past that. With him, how do you balance? It seems like he's got maybe a bit of a propensity for possessional giveaways, but then that kind of shot stopping ability. How do you balance that with your goalkeeper?
He's getting his rhythm. He's going to be fine come tournament time. You can see that he didn't have a regular slate of games, and it's going to take him a little bit to get into it. But he certainly did. He had an outstanding performance today. And he's growing every day, both in training and the game. So we're pleased with his progress. And then with Joe, you got two things at play here. You got a guy who's competing for a position and competing to be on the roster, and then you have to play against Luis Diaz and Vinny Jr. and and Rodrigo, and it's just like that's a lot. But what we're really happy with Joe is he really embraced that. He didn't make excuses for the quality opponent he's playing against. He just went out and did his job. And I think in both of these games, he performed well and certainly earned a spot in the roster.
We'll take two more. Continue with Michael DeCourcy.
Yeah, Greg, I wanted to ask, how much was this lineup influenced by the disappointment of the performance against Colombia? In other words, playing Christian 90 minutes, staying with a pretty regular lineup rather than making a lot of changes. How much of that was influenced to that, or did you just feel like 11 days to the first game of Copa, you didn't have to worry about burning guys out?
Well, I think we made 5 changes, right? So one less than the maximum allowed. So guys got game time. But for us, looking at the starting 11 against Colombia, I think the performance was average. We could have done better. And then looking at the solutions, I thought the contribution was poor. And that was something that we wanted to have a better effect today. And I think the solutions came in and did a much better job today and really helped the team, whether that's Tyler or Johnny or Shaq. Ballo, I thought, had a good impact on the game. So overall, happy with their contribution.
Brazil coach is here and ready to join us. So we'll thank Greg. For those of you who are joining the mix zone, it will be open in about 5 minutes.
Thank you, guys. Oh, okay.